Welcome everybody to the HTBox AllReady codathon slash stand-up slash information session that we do on a semi-regular basis. My name is James Chambers. I'm usually on video. I'm not very good at computers today though, so I do not have video for us today. However, we've got all these wonderful, beautiful faces related to the project. We got some updates. We've got some issues that we are working through to try and resolve, and we've also got some pretty exciting targets going on here the next week. So we're going to open it up. I'm going to go to Tony here just to kind of get us up to date on the project and what we're working on these days.
Yep, thanks, James. I'll also be tossing to Jim a little bit. So we had the opportunity in the last couple of weeks to meet with folks who are going to be using the application come mid-June, which is only about a week or so away now. So time definitely flies. What was that?
I said it's coming.
Yeah, it's funny. When we first started talking about it was cold and dreary in Chicago, and it's now 80 and sunny. So I guess these things change. So in effect, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing on a couple of things. Number one is getting the data that's going to come from getasmokealarm.org, which is where folks are going to re-register to get this installed to kick it off. We're going to be getting the data from there. We're going to be supporting the organizer workflow so that they can actually take those requests, take volunteers, take schedules, put them together in an itinerary, and actually move that forward. Then we're going to focus on the volunteer experience there so we can make sure people know where they're going, what they're doing, and being able to mark something as complete. And then everything else becomes sort of lower priority because that's what we want to focus on. So Jim will talk more about this in a minute, but basically they're going to have a rally. They're going to get a lot of people signed up, and then they're going to start coordinating that in the middle of June, and they're going to start doing that live probably after July 4th. And so we've got a real near-term release here to get the definition and get sort of the final steps of all of these aspects in place. So we'll probably show this in a moment, but couple of things that we're doing is James and I are grooming the backlog list, which sounds like shaving a yak, but it's not. Basically, what we're doing is going through, figuring out what are the open issues, how do we need to tag them, and make sure everybody knows, go to the 2 upcoming milestones, go to P1, and start coding, and that's what's going to make the biggest impact in the next week or so. I'm also writing an issue, it's number 799, and basically using the lovely checkbox functionality of GitHub issues, you know, literally just document step by step by step, linking to issues and other items that help complete that. What are we expecting folks to do on the 14th here? What are they going to do on July 5th and beyond? So we can use that for myself, for Jim, for the customer, which we actually met with and got them a GitHub ID, so they can actually go through and see, okay, these are the steps I'm going to do. Is it complete? What's my feedback on each of them? So we're turning it into a real project and to get used by real people in the next couple of weeks. Jim, you want to add some stuff to that?
Yeah, just briefly. So the June 11th event is going to be the opportunity for them to gather all of this data. Fortunately, we have kind of a working window before they really need to deploy this thing. So they're not actually going to start doing the installations until, as Tony mentioned, after July 4th. So it'll give us a good opportunity in those kind of middle weeks of June to put stuff in front of them and let them start playing with it, start kicking the tires, and getting feedback. So it'll be, I don't know if I would consider this kind of a soft rollout, but it's an opportunity for us to kind of work with them over about 3 or 4 weeks to get this to a good place and get some feedback as we move forward. So the only other thing I'll add is if you guys are having any issues with the getasmokealarm.org site, anything that I can help facilitate, I meet with Carl and Cecilia regularly, and we can make sure that we're getting you guys what you need.
Hey Jim, any numbers you can throw out there to just kind of reiterate the magnitude of what we're working on this month and next month?
Well, I think what we're looking at in terms of kind of outreach is I would expect over the next maybe 2 months, Seattle's going to probably have to install anywhere from, say, 1,250 to 2,000 smoke alarms. So that's a fairly significant effort. I guess the other thing I'll add is I know I put together a sketch of what this may look like at some point. I've been kind of reworking that, so I've been a little bit delinquent getting that up onto GitHub, but I'll get that up as quickly as I can. I know what I showed last week was probably a lot more than what can be put together in the short amount of time we had. So I was a little scared of kind of just throwing it out there and saying, yeah, could you guys have this done next week? But I will get some of those thoughts up so that at least people have some direction and can start noodling around on that.
Sure. Do you know, I just as from working with different volunteer organizations and being on committees and the process of trying to get together the volunteers to actually execute the work, I know for a fact that like it might sound like not too much, 1,250, 2,000. It's not like this is millions. However, when you're talking about volunteer hours, this is actually significant. If you think about like 100 volunteers on for 8 hours, that's only 800 hours. But to install 2,000 smoke alarms, we're probably talking about greater than 3,000, maybe even 4,000 volunteer hours. This is a big project. This is a quite a wide scope.
Right, and not to make it sound more daunting, but the way the Red Cross is organized is Seattle is actually not in my division, but I actually kind of have a soft spot for them because it's my hometown. But we have 10 regions in our division from Illinois to Idaho that are waiting to see how this goes, and will be ready to jump on as well. So this is not only an opportunity to do some immediate good for the Seattle region, but to put together an application that's going to start to get wider use fairly quickly.
Very good. So back to the backlog grooming really quickly. Tony, I've noticed that we've grown in the last 45 days or so from around 70 issues open and active on GitHub. We're now over 120. It's good because it means that we're getting some additional clarity and definition, but it also means that there's more work that needs to be done as we kind of start to flesh some of that clarity out.
Yep, absolutely. And again, if you're looking to jump in and work, the two things to do is filter on the milestones. So go into issues, click on milestones. You'll see the one that's in a week or so, and then one that's going to come after that. And look for that P1 or priority 1, and then obviously 2 and 3 as well. That's going to be the priority. If you actually do that, you wind up seeing that we've got about 19 of them currently for the next milestone on June 10th, and another 2, which will soon probably be a few more for the one that follows a few days later. So of that 115, it actually turns into about 20 or so that we're focused on for this release.
Right, and what I'll do is actually after the call, when the video goes up to YouTube, I will make sure that we put all the links in for anybody who want to click on the filters. They can go directly in and see the issues that are active right now, and that'll be usually a current list, so I'll do that as well.
Excellent.
Mr. Campbell, any updates from your side?
Just a recognition that we are hitting a point here with this project. For software developers, this is when the rubber hits the road, right? We're actually putting this software in the hands of real Red Cross volunteers who are not tech people, who are actually trying to help people protect their homes. This is us proving that this whole process actually works, and it's not our first iteration. We've gone a few times around, but this is our biggest one.
Yeah, that's excellent stuff. And it feels like we're getting some momentum as well. We're going to get a little bit of time to share with the broader .NET community this week on .NET Conf and be able to talk through our project and hopefully get a wider audience of developers that are able to get some hands on this project. So it'll be very important to get some, we're sticking around after this call to do some grooming and stuff like that. Those will all be important bits as well. Okay, just really quickly from a developer standpoint, Steve, we've got you on the line. You've been doing some pull requests this week. What kinds of things are you working on?
Yeah, so this week's been a bit busy actually. I haven't got a lot done, but the main thing I'm looking to finish off is the first version of that My Events page, based on the feedback that was left on there.
Excellent, and we're going to we'll be talking that we've got a couple of things that are blocking right now. I know for yourself, for Rob, and myself as well, related to the generation of the itineraries for the volunteers come this next cycle here of testing. So we'll be talking about that immediately following this stand-up. As well, this week I worked on and resolved the API integration building blocks for the Red Cross for the getasmokealarm.org website. We've been working back and forth with their development team, and we have now an authentication mechanism in place for them to generate tokens and make calls into the API. My next task will be and I'm not blocked on this, but my next task will be to actually store that data that's coming from them into some kind of durable storage mechanism, likely Azure Table Storage, until we can process those messages coming in. So after we get a better understanding about how the tasks are going to get fleshed out and how we're going to organize itineraries, then we'll be able to take that data. But in the meantime, it will be non-blocking for them. They will be able to submit data, and we will at some point asynchronously be able to relay a status change back to them. So that it will be unfolding in the next couple of days here as well. Okay, any other blockers or any information from anyone else?
I think that's primarily it. Like I mentioned, Jim and I had a chance to talk to the folks who are actually going to use this. That helped us gather a lot of information that's going to resolve some of these blockers and get some details. And the last thing I will say is, obviously, we need to work on the code and get the thing working and out there more than anything. But secondarily, the UI and the user experience is absolutely going to be key. We have lots of grids and buttons, which are wonderful, and we need to move from that to how best to visualize the data and how to get it in the hands of folks who can be most efficient in scheduling those 1,000, 2,000 requirements and not have a lot of buttons to have to click every time they're doing something. So if you're a UI UX person, please contact us, and we've definitely got a lot of great work here and a lot of stuff you can sort of showcase talents and how to make things pretty and usable.
Or if you know an organization that would be willing to organize like a 2-day codeathon and to attract some UI developers and get us all in the same room and could help make that happen financially, this is a volunteer open source project, and that kind of stuff would be appreciated as well. These are the people on the call here that you would need to talk to between Richard and Tony to make it happen. So I'm sure we're open to those kinds of things as well. Excellent. Okay, well, if there's nothing else from the team, I'd like to thank everyone for joining and watching this either with us live or afterwards on YouTube, and we will get those links in the description for you related to filtering down those defects, and we will talk again after next weekend's session with Get a Smoke Alarm. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.